You're listening to the You Don't Know Me Yet podcast network.
Hey, you are tuned in to Two Gems and a Mic with hosts Tanisha the Diva Mahomes and Linda L.D. Dorsey. Just know, if we talking about it, you need to hear about it. Unwind and enjoy. Hey everybody, it's Christmas Eve. Welcome to another episode of Two Gems and a Mic. I'm your girl LD. I got my girl the Diva, and we got our favorites, Darren Smith and Pat Mahomes Sr, a.k.a. Silky P. He looking pumped up today.
What?
All right, I love it. How's everybody doing?
Doing good, man. We got everybody straight. I'm
All
good.
right. All
I'm
right.
doing
Great, man. Have Merry Christmas, all. Merry Christmas Eve.
Merry
There you
Christmas.
go.
Right.
Oh,
All right.
I like that.
Okay.
Oh,
All right, have it. Okay.
he's been cute with it. Okay. Oh,
Oh,
he's scary. He's scary
Yeah,
with some technology, ain't he?
what?
man.
More than you know.
Hey,
More than you
you teach a man how to fish, he never goes hungry.
That's the truth. That's the truth. All right, we're gonna jump right in because it's a lot to cover. Let's talk about this NFL. We down to the wire. I'm gonna start with you, Pat, and I'm gonna start with the AFC East. Let's talk about it.
Well, I mean, Buffalo, of course, is the team that, everybody's looking at right now. They're playing really, really good football right now. Things that Josh Allen can do, with the ball. And now he's starting to get some contributions from James Cook, who's starting to run the ball solid. Uh, the other role players, the receivers, are doing enough, to keep teams honest, and Josh can always put that Superman cape on when needed. Um, they're a very playoff experienced team that have played some great games in the playoffs, and they've lost, but unfortunately they ran into the Chiefs a couple times and played some epic games. So you know that when they get there, there's something serious, to deal with. As far as Miami, I don't see Miami making the playoffs, but on the slight chance that they do make it, we all know about the cold weather conditions and how they play in the conditions. It would have to be a situation where they got to play a couple of games at home, and then I still think it'd be a tough ask for them with what they're construed with Tua, and the short passes and stuff like that. I just don't think that they would be able to keep up. So until they answer some questions about playing in the cold weather, I just don't see them as a factor, and I really don't see them making the playoffs.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Darren, what you got?
Really can't add more than what he just said. I mean, everything he said was spot on. Miami, however, would not be able to play any games at home just because of their record, and Buffalo has already secured the number, the AFC East. So in that regard, they wouldn't be able to have any home games. But when it comes to Buffalo, obviously, as Pat mentioned, they've fallen to the Chiefs 3 times in the playoffs. They also fell to Cincinnati. I think if you're Buffalo, the team that you don't want to see make the playoffs is not even Miami, it's Cincinnati. And there's still a scenario where Cincinnati can make the playoffs. And if they do, their first game would be hosting Cincinnati. And Cincinnati, I believe, went to Buffalo the last time those two teams faced off and knocked Buffalo out at home. So for me, it is Buffalo, to make it, I guess, out of the AFC East that could make a run in the playoffs. But for me, they'd have to avoid Cincinnati for that to happen.
What you got, Diva?
I mean, Buffalo is playing amazing to me right now. I mean, Josh is probably playing the best that I've seen him play in years. That confidence is high. Like Pat with Miami, to me, it doesn't matter if they get there or not. Because like y'all said, they don't do well in cold weather. And it's either gonna be KC, Buffalo, like you're done. They don't do well unless it's hot. So to me, I'm like Pat, Miami really isn't even a factor. If they do get there, they won't get out of the first round, in my opinion. But Buffalo is dangerous. And I agree with Darren on the fact that Cincinnati, if they were to get into the playoffs, will probably pose a problem because Joe Burrows has been playing amazing. It's just that some of the other areas on the team have been letting them down, you know. And but they're always dangerous. Anytime you got Jamar Chase just steady, you know, having 100+ yards every game, dropping touchdown. I mean, catching touchdowns here and there. That's a problem. So I would be worried about if Cincinnati got in there just because I know what they're capable of. And
so let me jump over, since we talk about Cincinnati, we don't went over. Let's go ahead. We're gonna talk about the AFC North, right? You got Pitt, Baltimore, Cincinnati. Cleveland's already eliminated. So Darren, I'm gonna hit you with this one first.
Well, I think the way things play out, I think Baltimore may end up winning the division. I know right now you've got you've got the Steelers that have the head-to-head, but obviously I foresee Kansas City knocking them off, and then uh, Baltimore winning this weekend. So I think that
hold on, you see Kansas City knocking Pitt off tomorrow.
correct.
Okay.
Pittsburgh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so that will give Baltimore a chance to win this weekend. Well, Baltimore has to beat the Texans tomorrow. If they do that, then they would jump Pittsburgh, and then of course it would come down to their final game. I believe they play Cincinnati, and so if they were able to beat Cincinnati, then they would win the division. Cincinnati would be eliminated from the playoffs, and then what we just discussed about Cincinnati knocking out Buffalo wouldn't happen. So just the myriad of round robin games that we have coming up these last couple of weeks will be very interesting for football fans.
Yeah, Pat, what you got?
That's a tough division. I really don't know. That game tomorrow, Pittsburgh Chiefs. It's gonna be a tough one. Still waiting on the status of Chris Jones and whether he's going to play or not. The Chiefs know what they need to do to secure that number one seed. So, but anytime you go, on the road in a hostile environment, especially against a team of that caliber that's playing well. I mean, even though they had a roughing against Baltimore the other day, I mean, they were in that ball game. A fumble here by Russell Wilson when they were going in, and some stuff that was happening. That's going to be a tough ball game, and you know that the Pittsburgh faithful are going to be out there because they really got something to cheer for, this time. And but the track record is that Kansas City has beaten Pittsburgh pretty much every time we've seen them since Patrick was.
All right, host.
Since Patrick has been drafted. Since Patrick has been drafted, so we've had a good game. What would be interesting to see to me about that game is that Pittsburgh has trouble covering tight ends, and I'd like to see Travis have a big day. Being this may be his last game until the playoffs start if the Chiefs win that game. Baltimore's solid. Only thing about Baltimore, they've lost twice to the worst teams in the league. So that gives me a little bit of pause. So, everybody knows Cincinnati's dangerous with the weapons they have, but their defense is terrible, so that makes it tough on them. So if I was picking right now, I'm going to say that Pittsburgh will probably win that division, just for the fact that I could see a situation where Baltimore coming off a high like they did this game could have a letdown, and then that last game is going to be pretty tough.
Okay. Hey, Tanisha, I'm going to say the same to you, but the one thing I was looking at is Pittsburgh losing 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
That's the concern I have with
this.
Unfortunately
for Pittsburgh, they just went up against the Chiefs, so yeah, they're gonna lose 3 in a row.
Okay.
Had it been anybody else, maybe they could have put it, but right now, if Patrick is playing, they losing.
Okay.
There's gonna be 3 in a row for them. But do I like the Steelers? I actually do. But I believe George Pickens isn't back yet. He's concussed, so that's definitely not gonna.
He will be back this week. It just said.
Oh, he'll be back this week. Well, it's going to make it a tight game, but because they just didn't look the same without him when they played. I mean, he's definitely kind of backbone of that team. So I'm sure he'll be eager to get out there and play against the best. Definitely looking forward to that game because I'm a huge Russell Wilson fan as well. So, but yes, I believe they're gonna lose 3 in a row. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was one concern I had with the Chiefs winning that, with them losing 3 in a row and being at home. I was like, that's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be rough.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
and
rough.
with Chris Jones, Pat, what you were saying about him, that's definitely gonna be a challenge.
Yeah,
But we'll see. I mean, the
I'm
weather to
expecting.
me that has no impact because both of them play where it's cold as hell, so it don't, that don't matter. But
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
talk about.
Now, if Jones don't play, it's gonna be we interesting because if Chris Jones don't play. But I mean, if he's hurt, I wouldn't rush him back. I mean, I'd try to go. I really wouldn't because you definitely gonna need him in the playoffs. So if
And the
he,
chick,
if he need,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. No. So I would, I'd give him the rest if he's hurt. I think it's his calf that he injured or whatever.
Darren,
Hoping that's
you in the locker room. I see. Is that what it is?
Yeah, the a strained calf. I mean, I didn't want to break any news. I was told I wasn't a news breaking guy on the text chain. But look, Chris Jones only had 2 tackles in the last game. His presence alone makes a big difference. So it's not that he can't afford to miss this game. Chris Jones wants to play because he feels he can get his get up to 10 sacks. I'm not seeing it, but but I could see a scenario depending on the grade. I think it's a grade 1 strain on his calf where they don't want him to
get
take a
in.
chance where it worsens. But Chris is a warrior, just like Patrick and the others. He may try to tough it out, get the win, and then sit out the next 3 weeks until mid January.
Okay.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Can
I
definitely see
got.
that
All right.
because
But
they're
I
gonna
just
want to
don't.
clinch. They're gonna want to clinch. I mean,
Oh
they,
yeah,
they want
they
that buy.
motivated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
because
want that
you
buy.
spit out.
It's
What'd
gonna
you
be
say,
hard to
Pat?
stop them from. It's gonna be hard to get them to not play.
Yeah, it's
And
almost a
then, like I
month.
said, then they get like what 20 something days off after that. So you got enough time to heal there, and yeah,
Well,
I
I don't
definitely
know.
can see him playing.
With Darren saying that he's after 10 sacks, he won't get 20 some days off because he'll definitely have to play that last game to get to that
Yeah.
number.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's
yeah,
right. You're right. Good
yeah.
catch.
If that gotta pick your poison there. Pick your poison there. All right, let's move over to the AFC South. You got
Mm-hmm.
Houston leading, Jacksonville and Tennessee. They eliminated. Indy, Pat. No, we can start with Tanisha this time. I've been rotate. Go ahead, Tanisha.
I mean, I don't think Indy is a threat to anybody. They're still trying to get their quarterback settled in. He's still having some throwing issues. I mean, he's a tough runner. I mean, I think he's a tough guy. He's injury prone a little bit. He gets hurt quite a bit. They're awful without him. Believe it or not, because we did try the Flacco experiment and it just didn't work out for him. So that division, I mean, doesn't matter. Even if they were to get in, they're gonna be leaving real quick. First round exit.
Okay.
So
What
yeah,
about
nothing
what
special.
you got to say about Houston?
I mean, Stroud is struggling, and I think it's maybe I don't know second year blues. You know how they say after they see you after a year they get some tape on you or whatever. He's struggling a little bit, but I think losing Tank Dell was was awful because now it's just Nico Collins and crew. But Tank Dell is a big. They already lost Diggs. So to me, they're just not in a position to win right now because they're just injured. That team is banged up.
Yeah,
But
that
I
was a
do like the
disappointing.
Texans. I do like the Texans a lot, and I love Stroud, but he's struggling a little bit, and struggling minus your one or your two, or Tate being the two and Nico being the one, and then losing or Diggs being the one. I mean, they've already lost some really important pieces to that puzzle, and I don't see them coming out on top. So it'll be a quick exit for them as well.
Pat, your thoughts?
Um, I'm going to go just the opposite of what Tanisha said. I think that Tank Dell getting hurt
Will
may
motivate.
inspire. may motivate them to play this week. That game
Okay.
against the Chiefs, man. If you were there, they were in that game when that guy when he caught that touchdown there,
Yeah, they were
and
actually in the lead.
Yeah.
yeah. So and him getting hurt there, you could see uh,
Mm-hmm.
the
Took them up.
frustration and emotions on
Stroud.
Stroud's face, and the game kind of turned. Then I think they only had like 30 something yards after that point when he got hurt. But I think they may take that as a positive, and I'm to be honest with you, I'm looking for them to upset Baltimore tomorrow when they play them.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Just my
Okay.
All
take.
right. All right. Well,
Okay.
I'm gonna have to really put that on the money line or something. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Darren,
And
what you thinking?
Well, when it comes to AFC South, actually, if you think about it, the Indianapolis Colts have the best chance of actually making the playoffs for the teams that are outside right now. Um, with Cincinnati playing, hosting Denver, they're trying to knock them off. That gives, and if you look at the schedule on who Indianapolis play, I mean, they play the Giants and they play the Jaguars. Those are two winnable games. All they have to do is just win out, and they can
All we
essentially,
gotta do is show up.
yeah,
Hmm.
show up. And so, but when it comes to Houston, I disagree a little bit with Pat as it relates to the injury, because what Steve and I talked about that we couldn't believe was after the injury took place, D'Amico Ryan's never like got his team together to to try to rally the troops or anything to get their head back into that particular ball game against the Chiefs, to where, again, because they were in the ball game, and they lost by a possession, and for us it was like, had he perhaps got his team together, told them, hey, look, Dale's gone, let's win this game for him. Things could have been different. I'm not quite sure, but he never did it, and so I don't know if they rebound and you know with Beyonce doing a halftime show. I don't you know I don't know, but I mean, I joke about that, but
Yeah.
I really don't know if they'll have the mental mindset, because now, if I'm Baltimore, I'm focusing on keeping Nico Collins from having a big game, and if you're going to beat me, you're going to beat me with Dalton Schultz, or Joe Mixon or someone else. But
they
if
played a
I if
good
I had to,
game.
yeah, I mean, so if I had to pick, I would probably go with Baltimore in that game, because, again, Baltimore is playing for other reasons as well, which is, of course, to try to get an outside shot of winning that division.
Yeah. I think
Mm-hmm.
the coach he looked a little shook when he was doing his press conference. It was a gruesome injury.
Yeah,
Um, and I think he was a little shook. But you're right. You gotta get him refocused to say, hey, but your quarterback. And I'm not making fun of him, because I like the kid. Crying and everything. You got to bring that all the way back. I don't know if they ever got all the way
and
back, but I
Stroud
get
and, and
what you're
Stroud
saying.
himself should have tried to rally the troops, but he was too
He
emotional
was
at the
shook.
time where he couldn't. So, that's. But
Young
again,
man, he
that's where.
was
But that's
about
where.
20, 21
But
years old. That's a young
Yeah.
man. He
yeah,
was
but
watched his best friend get his knee
I
knocked
mean,
Yeah,
on
but
the other
still, you
side of
got to
his
yeah,
come
head.
back.
but
This is this is what you got to do. So there was nobody that stepped up and said, "Okay,
yeah, his
let's
coaches,
do it for
nobody.
him or do it whatever." Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, that's tough.
Next man up
All right, so
mentality.
let's go to the our favorite, right? AFC
I know
West.
that.
I mean, I don't know what you want us to say.
Go
What to
ahead,
start?
Pat.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much explains itself. I mean, look like you're gonna probably have I don't know, two, maybe three, at least two, probably three teams get in. They're loaded as usual. That side, excluding the Raiders. I don't know. They can't seem to get anything right ever. But um, hell, they won the other day to get out of the race for Shador. So I don't really don't know what the plan is there. Um, Quarterback is definitely their biggest issue. But the Chiefs already wrapped it up as usual. It's normally done by early December, which it was again this year. So
Mm-hmm.
Broncos are nice. I mean, the rookie's doing his thing, and Sean Payton has them playing hard. But other than the Chargers are going to be who they are. They normally put together some good games, but they have a problem finishing them. And that's always going to be seem like the MO for them, but they should play pretty good. But I got the Chiefs and the Chargers, and with an outside chance of the Broncos. For some reason, I just don't think they're going to make it.
Okay. Darren, what you got?
Pretty much with Pat. It to me, it's going to come down to the last game for the Broncos against the Chiefs, and whether or not the Chiefs, they've already locked up the number one seed. Whether or not they sit players down, and but even then, I mean, you can't sit the whole team down, and
Right.
so I mean, there's only so many players that you can rest in that game, and Carson Wentz. I think Carson Wentz could still do a good job in leading that team to
That's
victory.
what I'm saying.
And
I agree with you.
and the Chiefs, I mean, they're all about winning. I mean, you still want to go into the playoffs on a high note. Whether now, granted, I know they lost when they had them locked up the number one seed. The year they tried to run it back, and they still made it to the playoffs and had some injuries and stuff like that. When they lost, I think the last game against the Chargers in 2020 or 2021. But yeah, I just see a scenario where Chiefs are resting their players, but even their backup players or most of the players that are going to be playing in that game will still be able to knock off Denver.
Okay.
And I do see Kansas City and the Chargers in the playoffs.
100%. But I was gonna add what you just said about Carson Wentz. Though I do believe Carson Wentz can still get it done. I mean, he's definitely shown that. In my opinion, he probably could be a starter. I don't think that's gonna be it. If we don't sit everybody, like you said, you can only sit so many people. I think Carson Wentz still gives him a good chance to go out there and win that game. But I'm with you. Chargers definitely, and the Chiefs is what I'm going with.
Yeah, and the thing for me with the Chargers that's different is the coach. They got a whole
Harbaugh.
different thing. Yeah, with Harbaugh, they got a whole different thing going on there on the sidelines, and what he believes in. And Herbert just looks different this year. He looks good, but just like he's having more fun. I don't know, and maybe that's the team. But Harbaugh brings a lot. He brings that energy. So we'll see how far they
Depends
go.
everywhere he goes.
Yep.
Harbaugh does.
All right, we're gonna switch over to the NFC. Whew. I'm gonna go ahead and get my stuff out the way. Let's talk about the NFC East.
Redskins, Eagles, definitely will be the two representatives. Man, I like Jaden Daniels. I like him a lot. Playing, football beyond his years right now. Step
Yeah.
right in there. First year player. My guy Cliff. I love Cliff Kingsbury. Even from the Tech days when we couldn't win shit. But it wasn't his fault. He always put up the points. Our defense was just so horrible that nobody could overcome that. I like what he's doing with him, man. I think that Brian Robinson and McLaurin, they're doing their thing. Of course, the Eagles are, to me, the most talented team in the NFL, and they probably would have won that game if Jalen doesn't go out. Kind of like Tanisha would have had a chance to win the fantasy playoffs, but that's how it goes. But
Lee.
that's how it goes. So no, Eagles and Redskins. I think the Eagles are as good as anybody. I think the Redskins can really surprise some people once they get into those playoffs.
Yeah. And
Let me assure you that Jalen is on Linda and I's naughty list. Because Linda, go ahead and tell him what Jalen did to you.
If Hurts had scored a touchdown, that would have been $18,175 for me. That's
For us.
Everybody else scored.
For us,
And-
because I know you weren't gonna leave us out.
When
Yeah.
he
bless
went,
us for
you
Christmas.
talk about something. I just balled up. I balled up in the fetal position when they said I was like, "Don't take him out of the game." Then they would take him to the locker room. I said, "He ain't never coming back."
Dude, when he went down, I
one-
almost started crying.
Oh yeah, when he got up and he was kind of looking at the official, but wasn't. I just started
You
looking
knew.
because the only person I had left for the afternoon game that I needed to score a touchdown was Justin Jefferson. He got two.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it
Well.
helped the sport.
Well.
Yeah.
I feel for you more than I feel for Tanisha because Tanisha still would have took her ass whooping, even though
I
that
dude,
even though she put up 100 and well, I think it was 190 points, 180 some points.
still got
Uh,
I got drugged, dude. This
she
dude,
she she
Jonathan
messed
Taylor
around.
person,
Jonathan
60 some
Taylor
fantasy point.
and
Oh yeah,
Jonathan
Saquon and the boys, they kind of put it up
Woo!
because
yeah.
actually the other guy had Josh Allen. He didn't do much,
No, Josh
yeah.
Allen wasn't the problem. I thought Josh
Taylor.
Allen was gonna kill me. It was
But
Jonathan
anyway,
Taylor and Saquon that
Yeah.
but
got me.
anyway to you fantasy GMs and you professional bettors, that's why you don't do it. So all it does is break your heart. Vegas is good. I always remember Vegas is good.
Yeah, Vegas gonna
Yeah,
win. Vegas gonna win. But that hurt me.
but yeah,
Ten
Jalen
dollars.
Jalen missed
And yeah,
Jalen messed me up because he still cost me an additional $800
yeah.
on it. So I ended up walking away 800 short thanks to Jalen and Linda 18,000 thanks to Jalen. And the sad thing about it was I feel like I jinxed him because I never ever tweet anybody or X anybody. And I thought I was gonna be funny that morning. I was like, Jalen, yeah, the baby needs some new shoes, and and let's get on out there and tear him a new one. Let's get this taken care of so I can win my fantasy league. And this son went right down. I feel like I jinxed him. I feel like I straight jinxed him.
All right, here we go. Let's move over here to.
Well, first of all, so you didn't
Oh,
get my thoughts, and
I'm sorry. I'm
Oh
sorry,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
and
yeah,
I will
yes.
say,
Shut up.
and look, and I
Go
will
ahead.
say, when it comes to Vegas, there is no story that I love to share more than the one that Pat shared with us a few years ago when it came to them jerseys. But that's the whole.
Yep.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, I still tell that story to this day, Pat. So that's a, that story is priceless. But to your point, I think Philly wins. They'll win their division, of course, and it was, if he doesn't go out, I think Philly wins that game against the Commanders. But be that as it may, the games were played. It is a confidence booster for Jaden Daniels, and especially when you think about how he parlayed that with the Chicago Bears come back from behind win. He has a Sunday night matchup against Michael Penix Jr. And the Atlanta Falcons, and they are right now leading the NFC South right now. So if the players would start today, they would be there. So this is going to be a great matchup for all of America to see. These two rookie quarterbacks, Penix getting the second start and everybody getting a chance to see what Jaden Daniels can do. So I think both of those teams make it, and the future is looking bright for the NFL.
Okay. All right, let's just go. Let's move over to the NFC. I'm all over the place, right? I'm gonna save them for last. Since you brought up Atlanta, let's go to NFC South.
Well, and one last thing, I'm so glad we don't have to talk about them Cowboys, Tanisha.
Eliminated. Enough said. Move on.
but when you look
That's
at the but when you look at the NFC South, I mean the fact that Atlanta, had those early wins and was able to sweep the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers had everything at their disposal. All they do was just beat Dallas and just win their games out. They put themselves behind the eight ball, and uh, I mean, they'll have a chance because I do think Washington beats Atlanta, so they could, if Tampa Bay takes care of their business, they could flip positions with Atlanta, and and get that division. But I still like regardless coming out of it, they'll be one and done. Whoever's the NFC South champion.
So, Pat, I want to ask you this question: do you think it was the right move to bench Cousins?
Um, right move. I don't know. I don't know if it was the right move. I think it was a necessary move for
Okay.
the fact that he was playing so bad at the time. I think Atlanta was kind of at peace with, we want to see the new guy and see what we got here because we're going to have to make some decisions after the year is over, even though Cousins has the big contract and all that. But just seemed like he had lost his fastball, kind of like a pitcher in the MLB coming back from injury. It just looked like, he started off a little slow, he got it going a little bit, and then kind of ran out of gas. And I think a lot of that was because it's tough to come back and sustain your condition. And I just think that he got a little weak, and they just felt like they had something there that if this guy that they had drafted in the first round, this Penix, if he could provide a little something without the turnovers, that they still had a chance to win some games and just see where it took them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tanisha, what you got?
Well, I loved watching Penix play. I know they actually came out and said that their goal was to do exactly what Kansas City did with little Pat, which was to let him sit. And then obviously you have a great guy like Kirk Cousins who wouldn't be hiding things and who would take that young quarterback under his wing, which you actually got to see him. They did a prayer right before he went out there on the field, and he, and helped prep him, before the game. And it was like Pat said, Cousins was just not playing well at all. So I
Yeah,
feel like
they were
I feel
talking
like
about releasing him. I don't think that would be a smart move before the end of the year to release him in case of injury.
yeah. Oh, I didn't hear him talking about releasing
Yeah, I
him.
saw that it popped up somewhere that it could have been a rumor, popped up
Now I think
somewhere.
that would be a mistake because if nothing else, you have a great quarterback mind in the locker room, and he can be there, in that quarterback room to help Penix understand, reads and things like that. I don't think that they would do something like that. At least I don't believe that would be a smart thing to do, especially a guy as good as Kirk Cousins, who is gonna do the right thing. It's basically an Alex Smith type of guy. I wouldn't want that away from Penix, my young quarterback. I'd want that around him. Period.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to Pat, but the one thing I saw stat on Kirk Cousins, all the years that he's played and all the money that he's made, $300 something million, he's won one playoff game. I don't know what it is. I like him. I like him even more after watching quarterback. I don't know
I
what they
love him
did.
after quarterback.
He just couldn't get it done. But I asked a specific question, Pat, about the quarterback situation, but I didn't give you an opportunity to talk about Tampa Bay. I know you like Baker Mayfield and what they could possibly do.
Oh, I love it. I know he's going to go out there and compete. He's going to give you 100% every time out there. Sometimes I feel he tries a little too hard, but that's my guy, so I'm not going to say anything about it. Um, I don't know. They kind of put themselves in a little bad position by losing that game to those Cowboys. Um, that was pretty tough loss for them. That's one they should have won. The Cowboys made some plays, man. They had some last play, and including the one in the end zone. But in my mind, if that play doesn't happen and they don't take that ball, the Baker's going to lead them down and score. So, that was a tough one. I really don't. With
Okay.
Darren,
Yeah, I got Pat. Yeah, Pat jumping in and out and freezing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
Pat's
so
not up
freezing
there
up, I
working like he
believe.
used to be.
But
yeah, we're gonna let him jump back in. He frozen right now.
yeah.
Let's move to excuse me. The NFC West.
Okay.
Got the Rams sitting up there. Seattle, they still in the mix. Arizona and San Francisco eliminated. San Francisco was just riddled with injuries. I mean, they were dropping like flies over there. So the Rams. Let's talk. Tanisha, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to tell you, out of all the teams that were riddled with injuries, it seemed like the 49ers handled it probably the worst out of the group. There are a lot of teams that are banged up. Detroit's banged up. They're still finding a way to get it done. The Chiefs are banged up. They're still finding a way to get it done. There have been a lot of teams that's been riddled with injuries. And for some reason, the 49ers did not do well with all when they had more. Now they're really banged up. I mean, they're like on their fourth running back or something now. I mean, they're in horrible shape or whatever. But I felt like there were games where in that they had opportunities to win, and I'm actually surprised that they just couldn't pull it off. They clearly missed McCaffrey, and this season is a wash for them. They've been eliminated just like my boys.
Right. So
Um,
let's talk about they out of it. Let's talk about who's in it. Let's talk about the Rams or let's talk about Seattle.
I love the Rams. I mean, to me, the Rams are a scary team because Puka and Cup, them boys can play some ball. They come up with some. I mean, I was watching Puka catch stuff. Now, I'm not sure there's many receivers right now that could catch some of the stuff that he's doing. Even Demarcus Robinson being that third wide receivers having a good year. I like what the Rams look like, and they seem to be pulling away from their division right now. I think what are they 9-6? I believe 9-6,
Yep.
and they're in the
Hmm.
yeah. So yeah, I mean I like what I see in the Rams. I think the Rams could be a problem in the playoffs.
Okay.
I
I'm gonna
really
go to
do.
Pat while we got him live. And he can talk. What you think about the Rams over there?
Right.
Uh, I like the Rams. I like Stafford. You know, Texas boy. Um, has proven once he got help.
We losing Pat again. Pat
Hey,
gonna
That
have
the
to move to
AOL
another.
dial-up ain't what it used to
Yeah,
be.
he gonna have to move to another spot. Let's go ahead,
hey,
Darren.
you're gonna have
I'm
to
gonna
do
talk
something.
about you.
That dollar store setup you got over there is not working out for us.
Darren, talk to me.
Uh,
The Pat done froze again. Talk to me about that NFC West.
Oh, I mean, it's simple. We're getting to see Sean McVay coach like coach like he should have been coaching most of this season. I mean, players being injured or whatever. He lost a couple of his wide receivers early on in the season, but they've steady continued to get better. And now he's showing just how good of a coaching job he's able to do without Aaron Donald being on the team. And so offensively, defensively, look, we know they can put points on the board. We saw how they put up, I think it was 44 against Buffalo to knock them off at home. This is gonna be a huge get if you're the Los Angeles Rams, and no matter who you play, look, they got to come ready to score because they will be able to put points on the board. And like I said,
Yep.
defensively, they've been on point. Everything that they've needed their players to do, they've been able to do.
Well, I really like the fact I'm not gonna give Sean McVay that much credit, because he's not my favorite coach. And
Well,
I'm
you ain't
still
got to be
mad at him
favored
for
just
what he
to.
did. I'm still mad at him for what he did to golf. But literally, like you said, whoever plays them gonna have to put points on the board. Period. That team can score. Stafford is playing good, and I'm actually looking forward to see their playoff run. I like the Rams, man. The Rams are starting to be one of my favorite teams coming up here. To watch every week because I know I'm gonna get something from Puka and Cup. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, let's talk about and Pat, I'm gonna try to get you while you're live. Let's talk about the NFC North, right? I think that's the toughest. So you got Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay. Chicago ain't doing nothing. What you got there?
Pretty historic division. I don't know if I'm coming through clear, but it's a pretty historic division there. Um, all three of those teams could win it. All three of those teams can win that NFC. Um, I wouldn't really count any of them down. I'm really surprised what Sam Darnold and the Vikings are doing, but he does have some weapons and a good running game to bat too. So, and what the defensive coordinator over there is doing with that defense, man, it makes it pretty tough. They have the combination for success over there. So,
I do.
man, that's gonna be a tough out for any all three of those teams. I mean, you
Yeah.
look at what Green
Yep.
Bay's doing with Jordan Love and Jacobs and those guys over there, and then of course Detroit. Tanisha was saying about the injuries. I mean, I don't think anybody could have more than what they've had, and they just keep on ticking. So,
Yeah.
uh, one thing Tanisha did say, she was upset at McVay about getting rid of Jared Goff. You can't be upset with a man going to get a Super Bowl. He got a quarterback that he knew he could win him a Super Bowl. So that's that. But
Yeah.
Jared Goff is playing solid, solid football over there in Detroit, and doesn't really get mentioned in the MVP race, but man, he's having the MVP season. So
There
Yes.
is.
you got three teams over there that are really really solid, and it wouldn't surprise me if either one of those teams end up being the NFC champion.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Darren, what you got?
Well, I mean, I think this year it is the Detroit Lions conference championship to lose. I think the loss of David Montgomery will have its effect. I think later on in the playoffs, when you try to rely too much on Jameer Gibbs, but the fact they were to split most of the season, he should have enough fresh legs to get them along the way. Again, to me, my NFC Championship matchup right now, I'm looking at Philly against the Detroit Lions. And prior to the season, I think I had the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the Chiefs in the championship. So I'm a stick with that. But coming out of that division, Minnesota was a surprise. I think Brian Flores has done an excellent job calling that defense. Obviously, the quarterback, for the Vikings, connecting well with Justin Jefferson along with Jordan Addison has been key. If they, depending
Aaron
on
Jones.
yeah, and Aaron Jones, and depending on how these last two games work out, the Vikings got an outside shot at the number one seed.
Hmm.
I mean
Hmm.
they do they do play Detroit the last game of the year, so if they can win that game, they'll have a chance at the number one seed. Now, we have seen how this iteration of the Vikings over the last 5 years have fared in the playoffs where they've been one and done. But perhaps with Brian on the defensive side calling the plays and just everybody playing well. The good thing is you want to play well as you head into the playoffs, and they're one of the teams that are just hitting on all cylinders right now, especially coming off of a big win against Seattle last Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. Tanisha, what you got?
No, he summed it up perfectly. You get out of my head, Darren. That was
And
good.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
you
good at
summed it up
this.
perfectly. Yeah,
This is what
I
I
agree
Yeah.
do.
with all of
He
that.
said he know what he talking about. All right, so we wrap it up with that. We're not gonna wrap up the show, but that with the NFL, and I think we're gonna come back and look and see who makes it, who's in the wild card, what's going on. We'll have another discussion there. We're
What
gonna
up?
go to what you got, Tanisha?
What I got is before we go to what we're about this next segment, I wanted to talk about this. Patrick brought something up, and it really made me think. I know there's this going around that Josh Allen's is hands down the MVP this year, but I totally disagree with that. When I look at the season that Lamar is having, I find that apparently people just done lost their mind. Lamar has better stats across the board. Period. He has only 4 interceptions. He has like 36 or 37 touchdowns. That's about 3,700 yards. To me, that sounds like the MVP to me.
Well,
I think
well,
I think
well,
Josh Allen has like 35. What do you have? 35, 26, and 6. Lamar has almost, his 11 more touchdowns and 2 less picks. And their QBR is what 76.7 for Josh and 75.5 for Lamar. I don't see how it's hands down Josh Allen as the MVP.
well,
I just don't see that. Maybe somebody y'all can explain to me what everybody is seeing.
there's a variety of things. Number one, it's not a stat. It's not who has the best stats. It's the most
It
valuable
isn't.
player.
It isn't.
And and
That's,
Lamar has
that's Burrows.
Lamar has a lot more to work with as far as talent wise with the receivers, the Derrick Henry back there, some
Mm-hmm.
other guys, Barrows with Chase and Higgins, of course, Saquon doing what he's doing, but that's a pretty balanced team too. Whereas Josh is
Amari Cooper.
he's getting a little contribution. Yeah, but Amari Cooper hasn't done much since
No,
being
he hasn't.
acquired at the deadline. Cook is playing pretty solid, but I mean, there's a lot better running backs than him in the league. So, and there's also this thing called voter fatigue. Lamar has won it a couple times, kind of like Chiefs fatigue.
Mhm. And I can give you that.
the guys,
I can see
the
that.
voters, and the people. They want to see something different, and I just Josh has put nobody had expectations for the Bills to do what they're doing. So I can understand Josh, winning that award,
Hmm.
being the front runner for that award. But yes, Lamar has had a great season. Joe Burrow has had a great season. But the I think the Bills have do the Bills. I think I'm right. The Bills have more wins than the
They
Ravens
do.
do. So
They do.
I can definitely see Josh winning it this year.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I
All
said
right.
hands down. Like to me, it just seemed like that there was nobody even close to him. I just don't agree with that piece of it. I do believe Josh is going to win the MVP as well. Probably for the first reason you said, which is Lamar has more talent on his roster than Josh does. There's no ifs and buts about that. But I just don't think he's hands down running away with it. I do not.
I would disagree on the sheer fact of talent. I would just say I think it's more so the narrative of what Pat said towards the end, where the expectations of what this team was expected to do this season, with the loss of a Gabe Davis, with the loss of a Stephon Diggs.
Pigs.
Now,
Yeah.
I would argue
There's some
now.
defensive players too, Darren.
Yeah, well, yeah, um, but he doesn't play defense, so but I would, but I would argue someone who's really been overlooked and probably get comeback player of the year, but should get some MVP votes. Is we just got to talk about the Minnesota Vikings, and that's Sam Darnold. But of course, but if you say, well, you got Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson, but again, there were no expectations for the Minnesota Vikings this year coming into the season, it was all Green Bay because of what they did last year, and it was all Detroit. Nobody had Minnesota, on the verge of perhaps getting the number one seed in the NFC if things play out for them. So, um, look, I think the narrative is already being written. I mean, you hear people like Dan Orlovsky, calling an interception that Josh Allen threw in the game on Sunday.
Punt.
I mean, so if you scream loud enough, somebody will eventually hear you. And look, um, and someone who covers the Chiefs, and look, and I've seen it time and time again where, again, Patrick, because of this team having the top record in the league, as well as the amount of players that he lost to start the season and how it is right now. I can make an argument that Patrick should be, should be in contention for the, for the MVP award. Being, if his team win these last two games, 16-1 is 16-1. I mean, he was without Hollywood Brown for essentially 4 months. He was without Isaiah Pacheco. He's without Rasheed Rice. He was also without someone else. Just got out of my head for a second. You know,
Pacheco.
yeah, Pacheco. And so and you look at the people who they brought in, and the ball kept rolling. The engine kept running, and all these one score games where teams had a chance to beat the Chiefs but didn't. And obviously, yeah, they'll say, well, he lost head to head to Buffalo. Well, Buffalo's always beat Kansas City in the regular season, but when it comes time, when the rubber meets the road, when it comes time to who's going to hoist that Lombardi trophy up, you know, Patrick and the Chiefs have always come out on top. So, I do think because of the narrative and how things are playing out, they'll give it to Josh Allen. You know, people in Kansas City like that's fine, you can have it, just like Lamar had it last year. But at the end of the year, if Kansas City is hoisting up the Super Bowl trophy for the third year in a row, they'll take it.
All
Yeah.
right, we're gonna move on, and Pat, we're gonna let you close the show out
All right.
today on a special note, and excuse me, and something near and dear to you. So let me see if I can pop this up here, and I just want to change. Here we go. And Pat, let's talk about Ricky Henderson.
Oh, we lost a great one, man. One of my idols growing up, Slick Rick the Ruler. I remember the first time that I actually met him. It was going to be my second start in the big leagues, and I was telling Kirby Puckett that he was my hero growing up, and that I was a little nervous, about facing him the first time. And he said, "You never met him before," and he brought him over and introduced me to him. I remember I struck him out the first time I faced him first at bat, and it was a 3-2 slider, and you thought I'd won the World Series the way I celebrated it, but it was happy time. And from that day on, man, he was always a guy that took care of me, mentored me, and then I got the great pleasure of playing with him for a year and a half there with the New York Mets. And you're talking about being with a guy damn near 24 hours a day. I was fortunate enough to be able to be around him and be a sponge, and never been taken care of so much. Some of the best stories that you will ever hear. A lot of them I can tell, a lot of them I can't tell, but always a pleasure. Always had a smile on his face. Even when it was Ricky's not signing today on Tuesday, or Ricky's not signing on Wednesday. Man, what a great guy. A guy that was probably misunderstood, and if not the best and greatest baseball player of all time, total baseball player. Uh, I have a toss up between him and Barry Bonds, and man, the news hit me, and it was hard, man. It kind of ruined my day getting ready to go watch my son perform, after being injured and not knowing how that was going to go. But to hear that before, man, it just kind of put everything on hold for a minute. He will be missed, a lovely family, children, daughters, and everything, and he will be missed. And like I said, I call him the all-time great, and I just the fact that he's gone, man, it just it really tears me up. But what a great guy.
And that's a great tribute to him, Pat. And sorry for your loss, and sorry for baseball's loss. And it was a big one. And I remember, like you said, sitting there with you talking and you telling stories about him. So yeah, he will be missed. And prayers and condolences to his family, and may he rest in heaven. Anybody have anything other closing thoughts?
I can't top that, man. That's
That's what
he
I'm saying.
was
I
he
think we're
was
gonna leave that.
he
That
was
was
someone I
done.
grew up watching. So yeah, he was a
And
great
and it
Every
goes to
once in a
what we
while,
say. Go ahead, Tanisha.
no, I'm saying every once in a while, my brother gets something right. That was good, Pat. I have to give you props on that. That
Yeah.
was good. It's not often, but that right there, he nailed on the head. I met Ricky, and he was a gentleman. He always was.
And one
Yeah.
one of the things we always say on the show, because you never know, right? Nobody's promised tomorrow. You're not promised the rest of the day. So when you can with somebody, be kind and be blessed, and be sure to tell your loved ones that you love them. And with this holiday season, we ask that everybody be safe, be happy, and spend as much time with family, friends, and loved ones that you can. Um, until next time, please, be kind, be blessed, and peace.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to Two Gems and a Mic. Be sure to subscribe and follow. Until next time, remember, be kind, be blessed. Peace.